If you've ever wanted a Dell XPS but didn't quite find yourself ready to pay the enormous price tag it comes with, but at the same time you didn't want to settle for the base Inspiron series, well, the Inspiron Plus series is kind of a bridge to that problem. And today we're having a look at the latest Dell Inspiron 14 Plus. It's been refreshed with some new configurations. So the one we have here today is rocking Intel's 12th Gen 12700H i7 Evo certified processor. That's a mouthful. 16 gigabytes of DDR5 memory. We also, of course, have Intel's integrated Iris Xe graphics. Additionally, a modest 512 gigabyte solid-state drive. Past that, we do have the latest Wi-Fi 6E standard as well as Bluetooth 5.2 on board. And finally, this is a 14-inch display with a QHD Plus resolution. There is a lot to talk about with this laptop. It's quite the exciting one and an interesting one as well. Today, we're going to see if the Inspiron 14 Plus is the upper mid-range laptop you've been waiting for. Let's get started. This laptop comes in packaging that's about as lame as it can get, but the saying goes that it's what's inside that actually counts. So let's have a look, shall we? Now, firstly, of course, you'll find the laptop itself, remove all that protective packaging, and here it is, the Inspiron 14 Plus in all its glory. Past that, you have a hefty 90-watt USB-C charging adapter. It's got quite the weight to it. And of course, the standard wall outlet charging cable piece. And finally, the quick start warranty regulation information and all the other paperwork that comes standard. In terms of design, you immediately feel the Inspiron 14 Plus is a clear step up when compared to the regular Inspiron series because it has a full metallic exterior, slightly different vents, and a more chunkier build overall. But it still looks linear and sharp and still has this unique slim profile to it. Overall, it's a very sturdy and well-built machine. Now, it is fairly hefty at 3.7 pounds. It's definitely well fed, but again, the build quality represents the weight. Now, starting with the top side, immediately you'll notice you have a smooth, textureless metallic surface here. Dell likes to keep it nice and simple. It also looks professional and clean. Now, you do have a subtle Dell logo in the center, and that's pretty much it. Starting with the rear side, immediately you notice those massive hinge brackets on either side, and right next to those, you have a dual setup of exhaust vents, so plenty of cooling going on here. On either side of the laptop, you have all the I/O ports included. So on one side, you have the DC charging port in case you want an alternative to USB-C charging, a heat exhaust vent. You also have the inclusion of a HDMI 2.0 port, a USB-A Super Speed port. You have one Thunderbolt 4 USB-C port with power delivery as well as DisplayPort functionality. Now on the other side, you have one more USB-A Super Speed port, an additional heat exhaust vent. Past that, you have a micro SD card reader and the headphone jack. If I'm being honest, I/O port diversity isn't half bad here, though honestly, the stickers included a full-sized SD card reader, as a micro SD card is just, well, it's a half measure in my opinion. Still here, I'm so happy to see that. Please consider subbing to this channel if you're enjoying the content. These videos take a ton of time and effort to make, and every time you sub or like this video, it genuinely keeps me motivated to provide more content just like this. Let's continue. The bottom of this laptop, just like the rest of it, has a nice metallic exterior, but what's really impressive here is the fact that you have plenty of air intake vents at the bottom, and despite being the non-dedicated GPU configuration, you still have a dual fan setup here, providing a generous amount of air inflow for a 14-inch laptop. You'll also notice on the bottom sides, you do have two speaker grills, one on either side, meaning this is a bottom firing setup. As soon as you unfold this laptop, the quality goes up a notch because you have a two-tone glass and metal inner chassis. So the lower half has a full glass surface finish over here, and the palm rest is pretty large for a 14-inch laptop, so you get this illusion of having lots of space even if you don't necessarily have it. But the real MVP here is that massive trackpad. It seamlessly integrates with the rest of the chassis, also has a glass surface finish here. As you might have guessed, the clicks are tactile, smooth, and also precise. It's well calibrated. This is probably one of the best trackpads I've seen on a laptop in this price range, so A+ job there, Dell. The keyboard keyboard here is equally as impressive. So you do have the same keyboard style that you find on the standard non-plus Inspiron 14. The keycaps are well labeled. You have a full black keycap style here. And you'll also notice, of course, it's fully backlit. You do have a 2-in-1 power button that doubles as a fingerprint scanner. But the real magic here is when you type on this thing, you'll notice you have a tad bit more key travel than the standard Inspiron series of laptops. So that basically provides further tactility, a more smoother experience. It just feels really nice when you type on here, whether it's gaming, typing up an essay, or just typing in the password for your Hotmail account. You're gonna love it. The hinge quality is pretty good. You do have a slight amount of wobble, but nothing too bad. Overall, it's well tuned, and you have a approximate 145-degree tilt angle. Now, the display fitting is made of plastic, but the good news is that you have a very thin chin at the bottom, which you don't normally find. Additionally, you have nice modern narrow bezels, so they look nice as well. And at the very top, you have a surprisingly thin forehead as well. This is the part normally where I tell you about the mediocre webcam, but not today, because today we've got a high quality full HD 30 FPS webcam included here, and boy, let me tell you, it feels like a massive upgrade compared to the mediocre crap Dell normally ships out with those 720p webcams we find on the base Inspiron models. So good job there, Dell. And it's also worth noting, as a bonus, you do get a built-in privacy shutter for the more cautious consumer. The display quality here is quite impressive, all things considered. So you have a crisp 2.2K resolution, or Quad HD Plus if you will, which equates to a 16:10 aspect ratio. Now you do have a rather limited 60Hz refresh rate. However, you do have a high quality IPS panel here with wide viewing angles, no PWM flickering. It is a non-touchscreen laptop, but personally I like that. I hate getting fingerprints on my laptop. Now the real MVP here by far is that exceptional 100% sRGB rating, or 69% Adobe RGB if you will. This means colors look lively, vivid, and is great for content creation, video, or photo editing type of activities. You have a modest 300 nits peak brightness screen here, though tests have shown that it can go up to 350 nits, which is enough for most indoor settings and should prevent glare creep for the most part. This is one of the few 14-inch laptops that offers a H-series processor with a 45-watt i7 chip. Now, day-to-day performance on here obviously is super nice, whether it's web browsing or HD streaming or word processing. Even more demanding activities like coding, 3D modeling, or just doing architecture-based work are very much possible thanks to the combination of a speedy processor and speedy RAM. But even the most demanding of activities like multi-layer 4K video editing on DaVinci Resolve is very much possible. Granted, you might run into the occasional frame drop, but I had a pretty smooth experience and I definitely think it's doable on here. Now, gaming is decent, so games like Fortnite can run at medium settings well above 30 frames per second, but if I'm being honest, that Iris Xe chip will only take you so far. If you are going to be regularly gaming on here, you may want to consider upgrading to the RTX 3050 configuration for that extra horsepower. Now, earlier I mentioned this laptop has a comprehensive cooling solution, and it definitely pays off. As we can see, under unrealistic peak loads, this laptop only hits a maximum surface temperature of just 42 degrees Celsius despite having a H-series chip. However, more realistic sustained loads will yield around 37 degrees Celsius, making this a fairly cool machine. Granted, if you go with the RTX 3050 configuration, these numbers might be slightly higher, but again, very well ventilated. Now, the fan noise, the median is about 33 decibels. However, you can hit a maximum noise level of about 50 decibels when you're doing 4K video editing or non-stop gaming. At around 7.5 hours average runtime, battery life isn't all that impressive doing average activities like web browsing, word processing, and even some light photo editing. But cheer up, because the redeeming grace here is the awesome speaker quality you get with this laptop. Despite having a bottom firing setup, the richness, the depth, and the overall loudness of the speakers here are top notch. I'd say they're second only to the likes of the MacBook Air, but have a quick listen for yourself. With an approximate running price of 1100 US dollars for the configuration shown here, I honestly believe the Dell Inspiron 14 Plus is one of the best laptops I've reviewed this year. And I'm not just saying that. If you guys actually watch my other laptop videos, you know how critical I am of laptop reviews in general. However, it's one of those few times where I think they got almost everything right. Everything from that sturdy but premium looking build quality to that two-tone premium texture on the inner chassis, including glass and metal, to that fantastic keyboard and crisp trackpad experience, to that fantastic display with a healthy Quad HD Plus resolution, to the fact that we have a decent amount of I/O port diversity, to the fact that we have one of the best speakers I've seen on a 14-inch laptop. This laptop really has a lot to offer, and while its price range definitely creeps towards the premium side or the upper mid-range side, I really think Dell is giving you every dollar's worth of value here. Now, the only two critical factors I will point out is a 7.5 hour battery life is pretty average, so if you need better battery life, you won't get that here. And secondly, I don't know why they didn't include a SD card reader. It would have been more preferable to the micro SD card reader, but again, if these things are not of concern to you, I can wholeheartedly recommend this laptop in this configuration and even in the slightly more powerful RTX 3050 configuration as well. So let me know what you think of the Inspiron 14 Plus. I'd love to hear your thoughts, and as always, if you enjoyed the content, please consider subbing to this channel and liking this video. It takes a ton of time and effort to make these, and I appreciate your support. Catch you in the next one.